over the weekend, Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk, other Trump-aligned figures succeeded in making this senseless death a symbol of big city crime. We heard President Trump asked about it yesterday when he was heading home from New York City. He didn't seem to know much about it. He said he would get briefed, and then today Trump did know all about it. That's exactly what has happened here. This story has trickled up from local news to social media and now to the president's attention, and it's being used, as you said, Brianna, as a political symbol, with MAGA media calling for more forceful punishments and more incarceration. I have to say, some of the replies to Musk, some of the comments around this story are baldly racist, stoking fear of African Americans because this man attacked a white woman. The open racism on sites like X today, it's eye-popping. But there are also legitimate questions about this so-called career criminal, someone who had been a repeat offender. And those questions, I hope they're not lost amid all of the cesspool kind of comments on social media.
Yo, so we back in here for another edition of F-ya-Motha, and that video you just got done seeing, I couldn't play the whole thing because it got mild violence. They didn't actually show it, but subsequently later in the video it showed blood dripping from the man. Everybody's been talking about this. Racist Twitter's in uproar. They're talking about, see, that's why Daniel Penny had to choke out that one crazy guy in New York, Jordan Neely, because of things like this. Anybody that's arguing that is a fucking idiot. Let me just put this out in context. Like, it's a 1-to-2 argument, right? Reason it is, while it both happen on transit systems, the reason why Daniel Penny was demonized is because he choked out somebody that didn't see it coming, that was acting erratic. Acting erratic and having a knife and actually stabbing somebody, two different things, right? And you're not a mind reader, you're not God, so he might have been loud and erratic. They said they didn't see him with the weapon. You can't assume some shit gonna go down. With this one, I ain't gonna blame the victim because she was minding her business. However, when you go in public spaces, you gotta keep your head on a swivel. All you motherfuckers that's on cell phones as Gen Z's, you gotta keep your head, you gotta look alert, because of shit like this, there might be a crazy motherfucker that the system, for whatever reason, keeps releasing them back into society. And I already said that white supremacists within the court system, they release this filth back into the community because, like, there's no business without crime. They can literally keep releasing people that are offenders back into the streets because they make money off probation. Subsequently, the recidivism rate is going to go up because they ain't going to be able to find a job because they're a felon, or they're not going to be able to find adequate employment because they're a felon, and they will be incarcerated once more. And then the state can actually get subsidy grants and loans, or subsidy grants and money from the state or from the federal government by housing like these motherfuckers in prison. I think this is costs $60,000 a year. It costs $60,000 a year to house an inmate in prison, so it's good for business. So that's probably why he was released back into society. And the fact that since the 90s, the early 90s, they've closed down mental asylums and mental institutions because they weren't able to get funding, budgeting. It's just that states aren't allotted that type of money in their budget. So it's either house them in jail, and if they're committing petty crimes, they release back onto the streets until they do something major like this. Clearly, he was going through some shit. And there is a segment of black folks that just don't like white people because of the mistreatment that black people are suffering at the hands of other white people. Now, I know there's going to be some dumbasses out there that say, well, what does that have to do with her? She was a Ukrainian refugee. And while she was, I'm not saying she isn't. And one thing doesn't have anything to do with the other. But it's just like when the police kill unarmed people and then somebody just knocks down a random police officer. It's not necessarily because that cop did shit. Right? It's what he represents. He represents the armament. He symbolizes the police organization, law enforcement organization, and yeah, it's basically a player on their team that you're knocking down. It's not necessarily now you're knocking down the actual person that wronged you or transgressed you, but it's what they represent. You know what I'm saying? So this is no different. It's not necessarily what this woman looked like, it's what she represents. She's a white-skinned woman. He didn't know she was from the Ukraine. He just saw a white-skinned person, and maybe he's having a hard time with the white people. Maybe they're oppressing him or have oppressed him in his life, or because of skyrocketing rents and expensive ways of expensive living, and cost of living is rising. Like, he just fed to the T with white people. Now, I don't necessarily think it was the right thing to do, but I do understand. I understand that sometimes when the system or the society that you live in is unfair, people tend to lash out. So my man probably lashed out at the first white person he saw, even though I think it's some sucker shit, because that's a soft target, right? He stabbed a white woman that was like 50 pounds on her cell phone. She looked anorexic. So I don't know if I would have, one, I wouldn't have killed nobody. Let me put that out there. But two, yeah, he went for a soft target. Either that, or he's probably so institutionalized that he figured if I do this, I'll at least have somewhere to lay my head, and I'll at least be able to, like, a lot of people that are institutionalized use prison as like to house them. You be locked up for a majority or a bulk of your life, you would look at that as a come up. The state will feed you, house you. Hell, if you're comfortable being around men or you fuck men, I guess it works out. A lot of people were saying, why isn't this being nationalized? Why isn't CNN broadcasting this? Why aren't the major news networks talking about this? And they're leaving comments like this on black people's posts. The only thing I got to anecdote that is that we don't run the news networks, so it's not us. You got to ask the white people or the Jewish people or whatever fucking people that's not black that's running the news networks. Why do they sensationalize black death and not white death? You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you why. And this is going to be the brutal truth that people don't want to accept. America's a company, not a country. And because people look at black death, oppression, and despair as a form of entertainment, you run stories like that and sensationalize them because you get more people wanting to watch. That in turns allows more people to spend more money on advertising. And that's how these news networks generate money. The more people are watching, they're giving out more rates to advertising for people to put their products on the channel because there's more eyeballs. I would have thought this was a given. Most people are fucking idiots. They think the news is here to inform you. That hasn't been the consensus since 1985. And the fact that it's 2025, so it's like 40 years removed, and people still think that, oh, why aren't they showing this on the news? Because this, while it would get national attention, white people kind of don't give a fuck. And we can be honest, the only people that do give a fuck are people that are on Twitter. Clearly, you motherfuckers ain't like, then you're not the demographic. And old white people don't want to see news story after news story about white person killed by black person because they might become traumatized by the propaganda of there being a plethora of niggas killing unsuspecting white women, causing there to be some type of terror or psychology of terror within the country. So it's not good for people's well-being, so they don't broadcast it. Once again, don't blame that shit on us. That's other white people doing that against other white people, right? Working against y'all best interest, not us. In any event, if y'all like this episode, you know what to do. Oh, and for the record, I'm not saying it's good. This is horrible. I love everybody. White people, black people, Mexican, Asian, Chinese. It don't matter. No one deserves this. I hope they catch his ass. And I hope they give him some real jail time. Because in the words of Tupac, niggas don't like crime and shit. You know what I'm saying? People act like we like living around that shit. We don't like that shit either. We like to feel safe too. So, I hope this nigga gets locked up and gets the max. Because we don't need anybody. We don't need no Jeffrey Dahmers. We don't need no crazy niggas doing crazy nigga shit like this. One, he making black folks look bad. That's one. Two, he's a menace to society. We need this filth walking around stabbing defenseless white women or anybody. Like, fuck, don't stab nobody. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't matter if the person was black. You don't need this fool on the street stabbing unsuspecting people. People just minding their business on their cell phone trying to scroll Instagram, and they gotta get hacksaw Jim Duggan in the neck. I bet when that white woman left the house, she was like, I didn't come out here for all that shit. In any event, if y'all like this episode, you know what they're doing. I'm out.